tune now.
A very good morning to all. Welcome to the day 2 of online lecture series on trends and issues in education, organized by the Bachelor of Education Department, Isabella Thoban College, Lucknow. We will begin the program with a word of prayer by Dr. Nilima Jha.
Let us bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, for all the blessings that you have bestowed upon us. We thank you, Lord, for keeping us safe, and we pray that you stretch forth your healing hand on all those who are suffering from this pandemic, Lord. We seek your blessings, Lord, on this institution. Bless the heads of this institution, Lord. Guide them and lead them according to your will, Lord Jesus. As we begin today's program, Lord, bless our endeavor and help us to be able to enrich our knowledge and experiences, Lord Jesus. We seek your blessing on the guest speaker for today's lecture, Lord, Dr. Rekha Chavhan, that you bless her as she shares her knowledge and expertise with us. We seek your blessings, Lord, on all the participants, Lord. Once again, I commit this entire program into your hands. All this I ask in the matchless name of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen.
In the inaugural session of this series on 14th of October 2020, our respected principal could not join us due to some unavoidable engagement.
Ma'am is there. Ma'am is there. Ma'am is present.
That's what I'm saying. She is here with us today, and I would request Dr. Vinita Prakash to please share her thoughts with the participants. Over to Dr. Prakash.
Thank you, Dr. Rajan. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So on behalf of Isabella Thoban College, I would like to welcome Dr. Rekha Chavhan, Assistant Professor, Department of Education, SNDT University, Mumbai. Even though it is on this virtual platform, but Dr. Chavhan, welcome to Isabella Thoban College. And I hope someday you will actually be able to come, not virtually, but physically to this college and see our college and interact with our students who are a very vibrant and excited lot, and they interact very well with anybody whom we invite in the college. So I hope faculty is going to be a very good exercise for everyone who joins in. I would also like to congratulate the Department of Teacher Education for having organized this lecture series on trends and issues in education, because now there is a huge paradigm shift in teaching and learning ever since we were hit by the pandemic in the month of March. We did not realize then how it was going to affect and influence us, and that it would be such a long stretch of time. but it has happened, and we have adopted, we have adapted to methodologies that are required in the teaching and learning process. And we are still in the learning process. It's not as if we have acquired everything that needs to be done. We are still learning, and there are so many things that we need to unlearn and relearn. We are talking about reskilling of teachers. So I'm very happy that the Department of B.Ed has taken the initiative, and they are organizing a series of lectures inviting experts in their fields. And Dr. Chavhan is an expert and specializes in teacher education management and particularly e-learning. So I'm sure that this exercise is going to be very beneficial for our faculty and those faculty who have joined from different institutions, even for the students. Students are teachers in the making. So now after finishing their course, they will be going in for teaching in different schools and colleges. And this is the time for their preparation. So thank you, Dr. Archana Kapoor and your entire department. Congratulations for having organized this program, and my best wishes are with you for the next hour or so for learning and reskilling yourselves and teaching others also how to manage e-learning, especially in these times. So once again, my best wishes for the entire program. Congratulations to each one of you, and my warmest welcome to Dr. Rekha Chavhan once again on this platform. All the very best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Prakash, for your kind words. Now, as all of you know, the topic for today is STEM to STEAM approach. And it seems quite mysterious. You can't make out that what Dr. Chavhan is going to actually talk about. She will take the whole talk, whole lecture on it. But I would request Dr. Archana Kapoor to just introduce the topic a little bit.
Once again, a very hearty welcome to our guest speakers and participants from India and abroad for the successive program of the online lecture series by eminent scholars from the national and international sphere on trends and issues in education, organized by the Bachelor of Education Department, Isabella Thoban College, Lucknow, India. Our first lecture on the inaugural session held on 14th October 2020 on career prospects in teacher education beyond teaching by Dr. Shreyasi Das was indeed an engaging and vibrant session. We are at the beginning of a fourth industrial revolution, and educators are faced with preparing a generation of students for many jobs that don't even exist yet. Since the term STEM, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, as we all are aware, was coined back in 2001, there has been growing interest in this learning philosophy to better prepare today's students for tomorrow's jobs. However, to adequately prepare the future workforce, another acronym is gaining popularity, that is STEAM, STEAM. Interdisciplinary approach is the main focus of the new education policy 2019. Leonardo da Vinci was on to something years ago when he stated, study the science of art and study the art of science. Proponents of STEAM education recognize the importance of creativity and innovation in solving our problems. Successful scientists practice art in a variety of forms, from acting to singing, writing poetry to woodworking and more. It is this science, success, and art connection that makes STEAM proponents believe that by integrating arts to a child's education, it creates a person more ready to meet the ingenuity demands of our economy. Many educators, employers, and parents believe that STEAM helps fill in a gap left by STEM of key skills and attributes children need to thrive. As Dr. Sonika Rajan has said that this topic is quite mysterious. So I will leave solving the mystery to our eminent resource person, Dr. Rekha Chavhan. While STEAM movement is still relatively new, Dr. Rekha Chavhan will apprise us how this concept is gaining steam. The concept is gaining steam, that is popularity. So Dr. Rekha Chavhan from SNDT University, very warm welcome from our department to you. And we are very obliged and feel humbled that you accepted our invitation, and hope one day we can invite you when this pandemic ceases and things are normal, and you can visit our department, and then you can also give not a virtual interaction, but a physical interaction here with all our students. Thank you so much.
Dr. Chavhan's profile is almost endless. There are so many achievements which are very difficult to be listed here. So I request Dr. Roma Joseph to give a brief introduction of our speaker to the audience and the participants. Dr. Roma, can you hear me?
Today, we are immensely happy to have with us Dr. Rekha Chavhan, Assistant Professor Theory and Direct Psychology of Learning, Education Technology, Education Management, Teacher Education, and E-Learning. Dr. Chavhan has completed a number of research projects, and to name few of them are on conflict management and sexual harassment of women at workplace. She has presented more than 25 papers at international, national, and state level. Dr. Chavhan has 24 publications to her credit, including 20 research articles and 4 conceptual papers. She has also developed, guided, and mentored courses under UNESCO's Mentoring Program 2000. And today, Dr. Chavhan will talk about the STEM to STEAM approach of education, which has always been important as it recognizes the interaction of art, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Over to Dr. Chavhan, and now I welcome her to present her topic.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Roma, for a introduction, for a warm welcome. I am really glad I have been, invited here to present my views on STEM to STEAM approach. But before starting my presentation, I would like to say, feeling thankful and not expressing it is like wrapping a gift and not giving to the person. So I would like to start, or I would like to take this opportunity to express my gratitude towards the organizing committee of Isabel College of Education for inviting me as a resource person for today's topic on STEM to STEAM approach. Now, when I will be talking about STEM to STEAM approach, my presentation will go in the direction wherein first I'll be talking about what do you mean by STEM and how there has been a shift taken place when we talk about STEM to STEAM. So when we talk about STEM, as we already know, this is the acronym wherein we talk about the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So how these particular disciplines affects our life, how the STEM has to do something with our life, and how it develops a learner, and what learners has to learn when we talk about the STEM curriculum. So what it is, who proposed it, who are the pioneers of this particular approach, and why all of a sudden there was a need felt wherein we thought of or the people who started this particular approach or who started this learning, they thought of bringing a shift from STEM to STEAM. Now, if we see these two acronyms, we do understand. When we talk about the STEM, it is more of a field related to science, wherein the disciplines like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So, as we know how the education was imparted earlier and how this particular segments of the different disciplines deprives a person for learning other skills. So which are those skills, how one can learn, and why there is a need to integrate art element in it. So when we talk about the shift from STEM to STEAM, why there is a need for it, and why to integrate art, how to integrate art, and why there is a need to integrate art. What is there something in art that the people think that the science people lacks it? So before starting with the concept, first like to talk about the history of this STEM to STEAM approach. So when we talk about the history, we can say that it started long back by the US. It started in the year 1957 when Russia, basically this particular movement started by Russia, wherein Russia launched a satellite in the space. So that particular event, which is taken by the Russia, made the US in a competitive mode, and US felt why we should be behind, and then they thought of we need to do something in the STEM field. Our students, our country is lacking. So there was a competition, and that competition led to the US to think of what they should do, how they can think of the different fields wherein science, technology, engineering, and maths can be incorporated, and how it has something to do with the development of a nation. So that particular gave the impetus, and in the year 1958, NASA, that is National Aeronautic and Space Administration, that was proposed, and it has found that there is need to conduct a lot of discoveries and inventions which will help the country to move ahead and to progress and to develop. So for that, what is required? What kind of skills we need to require among our students? What kind of education needs to be provided that will prepare the individual to contribute in the national growth and development? So that was a concern. So this is how in that particular period, from 1957 to 1958, then in 1984, the Apple's, we are very much aware about the Apple company, right? So the Macintosh was introduced, and this is how US thought of making development and making progress in the field of technology. And this is how technology got started taking impetus. Then later in the year 1900, US framed the committee wherein some guidelines was prepared, and US thought of preparing a curriculum based on the guidelines which will prepare the individual or which will prepare the students in such a way that they will not lag behind, and that those today's student, how they can contribute in the development of the nation. So why these things were happening? Because till now it was observed that they conducted a survey, and this was conducted in the year 1900, and that report presented that US students were lagging behind when it comes to the mastery over the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So that was the kind of impetus we brought a change, and then the movement of STEM education started. In the year 2000, there was a shift, and this shift was the introduction of curriculum in a proper manner, and they made it compulsory so that the other countries they should go with pace with the other countries, and they should not lag behind in this field of STEM, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So this was the historical background, we can say, or this was a brief history that made the US to think of to bringing this kind of change. So I feel unless we know the history or how this particular term has been evolved, there is no point in talking about what do you mean by STEM. So with this brief background or with this brief history, let me start sharing my screen. And now let us come to the topic of STEM to STEAM approach. So I hope I made it clear how this particular movement started and what were the leading factors or which were the impetus which gave rise to this particular movement, and how slowly later on this particular movement shifted from STEM to STEAM. So now, without wasting a time, I'll start sharing my screen and let's try to find out it with deep what it is and how it is different and what do you mean by that integration of arts. So let us have a look at the presentation. So I'll just start sharing my screen. Is my screen visible to all?
Yes, yes, yes.
Thank you.
Take it on slide mode so that it becomes bigger.
Yeah, has it become bigger now? I just shifted to slide mode.
No, not yet. Just click on the slide mode, full slide.
In my computer, I can see it's full slide mode. Just a minute.
I can see your screen. Down there are 3 options.
Just a minute. Let me stop sharing and let me start again.
Yes.
Is it visible now?
Yes, now it's all right.
Right? Thank you. Yeah. So basically today we will be talking about the STEM to STEM approach. So when we talk about the acronym STEM, yeah. So what it is? So it is an acronym which includes 4 disciplines, that is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So why there is a need to include these 4 disciplines? Why not other disciplines? What is the reason? So when we talk about this integration of these 4 disciplines, as we all are aware, we just cannot imagine our life without science. Science is all pervasive. So it has become part and parcel of life. And though we have not opted science as a subject, but in a day-to-day life also, science has a greater influence or science has a greater impact on us. Maybe while working in the kitchen, lot of equipments like pressure cooker, the mixer grinder, all these are the invention of science. So this is how science has influenced us. Then technology. What is the importance of technology? As we know, in today's classroom, wherein teacher is no more just a sage on the stage, but teacher has to integrate technology in teaching learning. So why the need filled? And during this pandemic situation, as we all are aware, it is because of the technology we have been survived, and this is how our whole process of education without any hurdle, smoothly it is going on. So that is the importance of technology. Then engineering, how this engineering field has something to do with us, how it has influenced our life, starting from the construction of the road to construction of building, everywhere we can see the engineering. And that engineering is also very important in my day-to-day life. Then mathematics. We just cannot imagine our life without mathematics. So when we talk about this STEM or a STEAM approach, it is an integrated approach wherein we combine these disciplines. So what is STEAM? As we have already discussed, science is a study of natural world. So our world is full of different inventions and discoveries, and those have become very important in our life, and that has made our life easy. So it's become imperative on us to know more about science, because science is all pervasive and it has influence to a great extent. Then comes technology. Technology is anything. It can be the product, how the product is simply preparing a pencil or pen involves a technology. So we just cannot imagine our life without technology. And engineering. Engineering talks about the design process. Now the question comes, how this particular disciplines has something to do with the classroom teaching. So in a classroom teaching, though we may not be including that particular engineering aspect as we see in a day-to-day life, but when we talk about engineering here, when we ask the learners to prepare something, to design a model, don't you think it is an engineering which is very much involved in it? Don't you think it is a technology that we are using in our day-to-day classroom teaching? So this is how it is all pervasive and it has become a very important. So it's very important to understand the importance of these disciplines in our life. Now, one more important need or thing which has emphasized the introduction of this field is one of the role, or we can say to remove the gender gap. because as traditionally we have been experienced, or because of the stereotyping, majorly it has been seen that the fields like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are dominated by the male member, and they are the one who will be more suitable for those fields. And when it comes to women, they hardly are allowed to enter in this field, or because of the mindset of the society, because of the stereotyping, because of the cultural values and all those things, we hardly see the girls are opting for these fields, and that is why they are deprived of this particular field. So can we do something wherein to some extent we can remove this gender gap, we can remove this gender stereotyping, and for that it is very much needed to introduce the STEM education, because these are also equally important. And me as a woman, when I'm working in the kitchen, don't you think it is very much required for me to understand the science behind every equipment which I make use in my cooking? So this is how it is very important, and there should not be any gender differentiation when it comes to who should go for which field. So that is also one of the reason why there is a need to start with the STEM education. Now, when we talk about the STEM education, and when we shift from STEM to STEAM, it is an art element that has been introduced. So why there is a need felt to introduce art? Because generally it has been seen, when we look at the students of the faculty of science, they become more of, conversion kind of thinker, or more of 1 + 1 is equal to 2. So the divergent thinking, the creative aspect are missing in science, and that is why there is a need to introduce or bring the element of arts in those particular fields as well. So this is how, because art goes well beyond the aesthetic. Art talks about the aesthetics, and when we talk about the arts, it is the liberal arts, it's the fine arts, music, how we can incorporate those things in the science subjects, how we can integrate those particular art element with the maths, with the technology, and with the engineering. Because if we bring these two elements together, it will develop, or it will give a holistic perspective about education, and that will definitely help in all-round development of a child. Now moving to maths, it's a language of number, shapes, and quantities, as we all are aware, and we just cannot imagine our life without mathematics. No matter whether I'm a student of art faculty, humanities, or, but for me, being an individual, even for the budgeting of my family, even for purchasing something, I need to have the knowledge of mathematics. So I just can't think of my life without mathematics. So this is how, whether it is a male member or a female, even for them, the understanding or knowledge of mathematics is equally important. So this is how these subjects has a great impact on our life. And this is how it has really touched our life. And we just can't imagine our life, or any decision of our life will always be influenced by these four subjects. And this is how it has become a very important part. And that is why it is needed to have a knowledge about STEM education. Now, what is it? Many times it is called as a STEM education, or sometimes it is also used with the synonymous STEM learning. So it is based on the curriculum that integrates the subjects, like how we have been taught. We have been taught subjects with the different compartments. We have been taught physics separately, we have been taught geography separately, we have been taught, and never ever our teacher tried to integrate those subjects, or how these subjects are related. That particular component was missing in the education system, and we feel, or there is a time will come wherein we need to understand how different subjects are correlated, how the influence of maths can have on geography, on history, on language. So this integration, this collaboration among the subject also need to understand, because knowledge is whole. It can't be in compartments. And we for our understanding has compartmentalized into different compartments, which is so wrong. Nowadays, if you remember, or if you might have experienced, many of the schools, they have started with the theme-based learning, wherein particular theme is decided. Say, for example, for this particular week, the theme is water. So student will be learning about water in chemistry. Student will be learning about water in geography. That is what is theme-based. And this is how knowledge has to be seen together. It should not be compartmentalized. So that particular thing also goes very much with the STEM approach, wherein we are correlating the subjects. wherein we are integrating the subject and wherein we don't look at the subject in isolation, but how they are integrated, how they are interdependent, that also need to understand. And that is taken care with the STEM education. STEM education integrates the hands-on real-world learning. Now, when I say hands-on learning, here the methods used while implementing the STEM education is inquiry learning. Now, when I say inquiry learning, so naturally your perspective or your way of looking towards education will be such that students are no more a blank slate or students are no more an empty vessel, wherein unless the teacher pour the knowledge will not be transmitted. Gone are the days. Now we are believing in constructivist approach. And if we want a learner to construct the knowledge, we need to consider, or we need to value their experience. We need to value their opinion, their views, their prior knowledge, because no student is like a blank slate who doesn't know anything. It is our assumption as a teacher who always underestimate the knowledge of the learner. And that is why it's very important to provide them the hands-on experience. Now, what is a thing observed, the education which we get, when time comes to apply in real life, we are not able to do it because the method followed for teaching that particular subject was so faulty or so wrong, wherein more emphasis was given on rote learning. And that rote learning doesn't help anybody to apply the knowledge in day-to-day life. So STEM education provides a hands-on, real-world learning task coupled with academic theory and helps students master the rigorous skills and concepts. So student will learn the concept here by way of exploration, by way of discovery, by way of inquiry, by way of asking a lot of questions. And from that process of asking the question, student will try to gain the knowledge, student will try to attain the mastery over the concepts. At elementary grades, it creates students an integral mathematics and science that provide a foundation of middle and high school. So this STEM approach or STEM education is for K to 12. So there is nothing like a science subject should be learned at secondary level. Rather, science subject should be taught from K to 12, from KG to high secondary level. So that is also equally important because that will be the base, and that base will help the child to develop the creativity, curiosity, which will lead to the inventions and discoveries. So that is also very important. We need to introduce this particular science, technology, engineering, and mathematics even from the lower grade or at the very pre-primary stage, that is K to 12. It builds greater capacity in teachers through specific, rigorous, and ongoing professional development. Now, I do understand this STEM education is important for a child for all-round development, but why? Why? How it is useful for a teacher? Of course, it does help a teacher for her own professional development. Now, how professional development will take place? When I'm planning the STEM lesson, I will collaborate with my other teachers. I will collaborate with my art teacher. I will collaborate with my math teacher, and this is how the collaborative learning will take place, and this is how the sharing of knowledge, the collaboration, that will help the teacher to grow as a person, and that this is how professionally she can also develop. So it's not only for the kids, but even for a teacher's overall development, this STEM education is very important. So when we talk about the STEM education, it incorporates several research-based practices, and that has proved to be very effective when it comes to achievement of the student. So when we talk about STEM education, it is an interdisciplinary instruction wherein we combine the different disciplines and wherein we collaborate with the different disciplines, wherein we integrate the knowledge of different disciplines and we don't compartmentalize it or we don't segregate it. So that is very important. So it's an interdisciplinary approach. And as I said, knowledge is always whole. It can't be in part. So keeping that also in mind, time has come wherein we need to think of how we can have a multidisciplinary approach, how we can have an interdisciplinary approach, and that will help the child to grow and develop in a better manner as compared to what kind of education the child gets when the knowledge is provided in the compartments. In STEM education, problem and project-based learning are the strategies which are used. So while teaching the content, the focus is on presenting the content in such a way that it can be a case study or it can be a situation wherein child will be made to think over it, process, you make his cognitive processes, think over it, reflect over it, and come up with the solution. So it's kind of, collaboration of knowledge, creation of knowledge by putting one's own efforts. So here, when we are applying the problem or project-based learning technique, we are actually allowing the child, or we also help the child to develop the learner autonomy. And when I say learner autonomy, let the learner decide. Let the learner construct his own knowledge. There is no need to spoon feed the child. Child already has the experience, has the knowledge. With that particular knowledge or experience which he already has, let him construct, let him build his knowledge with what he already knows. And that is possible when we apply the problem or project-based learning. So that strategy is used when we talk about the STEM education. Then inquiry-based learning, as I said, it should not be a giving kind of, teacher should not be the giver and the learner should not be the receiver only. It is a learner who also can inquire, who also can generate the knowledge, and that knowledge can also be given to a teacher. So we need to think of the mindset. We need to change the mindset of teacher, wherein we look upon teacher as the giver and learners are always at the receiving end. So that is also possible when we apply the inquiry-based learning, where the learners come up with the queries, come up with the doubts, and let that doubts will help the learner to create his or her own learning. Then collaborative learning, let them collaborate, because when one mind thinks, it is very limited. But when we make the 10 people, 10 students together, that creation is anytime better. So collaborative, let them exchange, let them reflect, let them understand what is his knowledge, what he has understood, how he has perceived that particular concept. So that is also very important aspect of STEM education. Then laboratory investigation, let them investigate, let them discover, let them invent something. So that is also a major component when we talk about STEM education. We can always think of giving them the small research projects. Say, for example, you want to want your student to understand about the waste management. So you can always think of a small projects wherein you can ask them to go and collect the data from the society, observe the methods used by the people in the society, how the waste is managed. So rather than making the child to sit in the class and delivering the lecture from the textbook, can we think of some different ways of delivering the content, so that will help the child for his development of his research skills. That will help the child to test or verify the hypothesis. So this is how we can think of having a different projects in different subjects, and let the child come up with the knowledge, let the child construct his knowledge. And that is an important aspect of STEM education. Then real world experience. As I said, we are very much lacking in real world experiences, because we as a teacher, we never put effort to make the child to relate with his day-to-day life. Even a engineer graduate or even a science graduate, when time comes, when any electricity or the switch doesn't work, the person is not able to apply that knowledge he has learned. So we need to apply them the real world experiences, because what is happening, what is given in the textbook, what the child is learning in the class, four walls of the classroom is totally different. And when it comes to the job, when he faces the life, the situation is totally different. And there is no link between what the child is learning in the classroom and what is there outside the four walls of the classroom. So we need to link the real life with the classroom teaching. And how it is possible? When we allow them to go to the community to collect the information, let them get the hands-on experience, let them get the real life experience, and then the child will understand how this particular knowledge which he has learned can be applied in this particular situation. So this is how we can make the child. And if this is a kind of scenario, I'm very sure the kind of cognitive development will take place. It will be much more beyond than just memorization of the facts. It will be much more at a higher level of Bloom's taxonomy, wherein we expect our learner to go to the highest level of analyze, create, and evaluate. We hardly see our education system or our curriculum are transacted in such a way that we keep the learner at the basic level of Bloom's taxonomy. We never think of how we can take them to the higher level of taxonomy. And if we provide this STEM education, I'm very sure learner will be at the higher level of Bloom's taxonomy, where he will come up with his own product, where he will come up with his own creation, and that creation may be a model, that creation may be a poetry, that creation may be an article which the child will write, right? So it can be any kind of expressive piece of work. So this is how we can take the child to the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy, and that is all possible with STEM education, because the kind of methodology follows, the kind of strategies we use for imparting the skill, STEM education actually prepares the child for 21st century skills. So what are those 21st century skills? Critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, all these skills will automatically get developed when you apply this STEM approach in education. Now, why STEM education? As I said, by applying that particular approach, we will help the child to develop his critical and analytical thinking skill. Provide them the chance wherein you can ask, find the difference between these two, components. Find the difference between these two things. So, it is very much needed to provide such kind of, experiences. Provide the experience. Tell the child to analyze. Let the child come up with his own observation. Let him watch something. Let him learn something, and let him come with his own questions. So that is all get developed when we apply or when we impart the STEM education. Proficiency are solving non-routine problems. As I said, what we learn in the four walls of a classroom, and when we go and face the life outside, it is totally different. So my education today doesn't prepares me to tackle the day-to-day life problems. So that is possible, and that gets developed when we provide them the STEM education. High-level communication abilities, we hardly, most of the times happen in the classroom. It is a teacher who speaks more, and the child hardly gets opportunity to express or to ask the question or to say something. So that is there, we are also depriving a child from developing his own communicative abilities. So his or her communicative abilities also get developed through this STEM education. Project management experience, as I said, give the child a different response for project. Let the child manage the whole project, starting from the planning, execution, evaluation. So that particular procedure of following the study makes the child to how to manage any particular project. While planning a project, what are steps I need to follow? What are kind of planning I need to think of beforehand, so that my project will not be a failure, or so that I can visualize what kind of different problems or what kind of hurdles I may come across, what kind of other information I need to collect for this project. All these things the child will learn, and this is how ultimately it will develop the project management skills of the learner as well. Then teamwork and leadership skills, wherein the child is taking a leading role, wherein the child is taking the initiative, and when they are working in a group, when they are collaborating with each other, definitely the teamwork and leadership skills also gets developed. And that is why it is very important to have a STEM education. STEM education enables students to earn high wages in high occupation and encourages self-sufficiency. Now, when you provide such kind of education, it has something to do with your job profile, or it has something to do with what is the outcome of that STEM education. So that outcome can be seen in terms of his or her self-sufficiency and in terms of his financial independence. So generally what happens, the education which the person gets today after graduation or after post-graduation also, the person is not able to become a self-sufficient, or person is not financially independent. Still they depend on the parents for their financial needs. So once we start this particular approach from the K to 12 level itself, the child will be self-reliant and self-sufficient, and they can start with their own business, they can start up with their own companies, and this is how we can instigate their desire and their curiosity and their critical thinking skills, and this can be used to make the child self-sufficient and financially independent. By 2018, America will be 40,000 engineers. As I was talking about the reports provided in the year 2000, that is National Science Foundation. They have come up with these statistics, and they feel that there is a shortage of this kind of shortage will be felt in future if we don't provide this STEM education. So there is a dire need to provide or to bring the change in a whole educational scenario, so that these needs of ours will be fulfilled in the countries. Over the past 10 years, growth in STEM jobs has been increased 3 times. than the non-STEM jobs. And nowadays, even when we look at the job market, when we look up the job demand, that those jobs which are based on STEM are more in demand as compared to non-STEM jobs. Gone are the days where our jobs are very traditional, very specific. Now, within a job itself, yeah, there are so much multi-specialties. And there, the knowledge of STEMs is very important. Unless you have the knowledge of that particular STEM, you won't be eligible to fit for that particular job. So this is how to get benefited with those different job opportunities. There is a need to have a STEM education. STEM occupations are projected to grow by 17%. So this is how the things are visualized, the way the technology is developing, the way the changes are happening around us. That has forced us to think of where we will be after 5 years or what kind of requirement will be of the society. So we need to visualize today. And that is why today itself, we need to start imparting this kind of education so that when there is a need to have a job wherein the STEM knowledge is very required, that time we should not feel that, yes, we are outdated or our knowledge is obsolete. But rather, we can develop that particular skills and that jobs will be in demand in near future. So preparing today's learners for the near future, it is very much required. STEM workers command higher wages. So the salary which they will be getting in those STEM jobs, which much higher than the other jobs, which are doesn't require the STEM knowledge. So this is how, if you want to see kids today itself, we need to think of providing this kind of education to them. Now, core ideas implementing the STEM. Freedom to think with ideas. Let the child get a lot of freedom, lot of autonomy, where he can share the ideas, where he can contribute in the ideas for the development or creation of a knowledge. Put forth in front of the child the real challenges, because more the challenges, more it gives impetus for the, make use of the cognitive processes, more it gives impetus for making use of the critical thinking, analytical thinking, and that is how it will be very important to have a STEM curriculum. So STEM and problem solving, as I discussed, problem solving, inquiry-based learning, discovery learning, exploratory learning, these are the basic, or these are the strategies which are used when we talk about the STEM education. So authentic problem solving skills will also get developed by way of imparting the STEM educations. Lessons are guided by the inquiry learning and design thinking. Provide the student with a facilitative environment wherein you can provide the guidance for giving impetus to his inquiry, for giving him more impetus for asking more and more questions, so that by way of asking the question, the child can generate the knowledge. Exploration by students are open-ended. Provide the facilities, provide the opportunities, facilitate for more and more exploration rather than directly providing the knowledge. Being a great problem solver means working well in teams. So if the problem solving skills get developed at the school level itself, I'm very sure whatever problems they will face in life, they can easily handle those particular problems. And the other emotional, social, psychological problems will also be taken care when we prepare the child in such a manner wherein the child has acquired the skill of problem solving. And that problem solving skill, the child will also apply for tackling the problems of his day-to-day life. Science and math concept underpin all problems, and this must be part of learning. So, as I was telling from the beginning, you just cannot imagine your life without the knowledge of science, maths, technology. It has become so part and parcel of your life. You need to understand how you need to make them understand the importance of these subjects and how these subjects does play a very important role, and how your life will be incomplete without the knowledge of these subjects. So that is very important to make them aware about the importance of these particular subjects. Now, this was all about STEM education. Then later on, the need felt wherein there was a need felt to integrate art element into it. So what do you mean by art element, and how we can include that art element? So when I talk about the art, I mean the creativity, I mean the right brain. Our brain, there are two parts of the brain, left brain and right brain. Mostly the school education which we impart, it only caters the left brain. It only makes the analytical thinker or a critical thinker. But when it comes to your development of your imagination, your creativity, your make use of your feelings, emotions in learning, that particular component doesn't take place, or that particular component is not taken care in our general education system. So in order to change this, how we can provide the environment wherein my left brain and right brain both will get a chance to develop, and that is possible with STEM education, and that is possible when we integrate art into STEM. So how to integrate it? Let us have a look. Now, when we think of adding STEAM, these are the new vehicles through which we can integrate the art element into it. Let learners, so these are some of the criteria wherein we can think of by way of introducing inquiry or by way of introducing project-based learning, how we can engage the learner or how we can integrate the art element into education. So when we talk about the STEAM approach, it is a learner engage in scientifically oriented questions. Learner asks the question. Learner, we generate the curiosity, we generate the inquisitiveness among the learner, and this is how learner is completely engaged in asking the scientific questions. So when the learner is asking the scientific questions, he is actually going through the inquiry process, and that inquiry process leads to his project-based learning. Now, when we talk about project-based learning talks about providing the real-life experiences, hand-on experiences, wherein the child will get a chance to deal with the problems which may arise in their day-to-day life. So, learner engage scientifically oriented questions, and that is possible when you provide the inquiry approach in learning or when you provide the project-based learning. Learner gives evidence priority in responding to the questions. So when the learner is coming with the questions, learner come up with the evidence. This question has come to my mind because of the thing which I have seen, because of this thing I observed. And that made me to have that kind of inquisitiveness or that kind of curiosity in me that is impelling me to find the answer of that particular question. So it provides the evidence in responding to the questions. Learner formulates explanation from the evidence. So learner will collect the evidence and learner will justify why he or she is saying this particular conclusion, or why she is saying, drawing some conclusion out of it, how the inferences the learner is drawing. That all will be based on the evidence. Learner collect explanation to scientific knowledge. So why this particular thing has happened, why it is moving this way, why this particular thing is happening this way, those kind of questions will answered when we apply this STEAM approach, wherein learner will be given freedom of expression, communication skill will also get developed, and this is how this adding the A element into STEM actually makes the learner to make use of his imagination, creativity, and other art knowledge into the field of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Learner communicate and justifies the explanation. So the teaching learning process will be in such a way that there will be more emphasis on the communication, more emphasis on the justification, more emphasis on the rationale, why this particular thing, what is the rationale behind it. So those will be the focus of learning when we talk about the STEAM to STEAM approach. When we integrate art element into teaching, the art teaches the children to make good judgments about qualitative relationship. So it will not happen, this particular thing has been given and I have to accept as it is, but rather the learner will be more judgmental, he will be more critical, and he will ask for the rationale or a reason behind why we are thinking this particular way. So it teaches the children to make a good judgment about the relationship, how these two facts are related. What is the relationship between science and the history? What is the relationship between how science help in geography, how science help in language? So that kind of understanding will be developed and child will be more judgmental, and this is how child will try to show the relationship between different concepts. As in concept map, we talk about what are the different concepts, how these concepts are related, what kind of relationship it has, which is a major concept, and from that major concept, how the sub-concept has emerged, how these two are connected, how these two are related. All this kind of learning will take place when we introduce the art element into STEM. The art teaches the children that problems can have more than one solution and question can have more than one answer. So by integrating STEAM, we will develop the divergent thinking, we will develop the perspective among the student wherein one thing can have a different perspective, wherein one particular problem can have the multiple answers, multiple solutions. One question may have a multiple answers. So that kind of thinking gets developed when we integrate the art element into education. The art celebrates multiple perspectives because for a same issue or for the same problem, there can be different multiple perspectives. And that perspectives will get valued when we integrate art element into education. Every person is different, every person's experience is different, every person's knowledge is different, and based on that knowledge, that understanding, that schemas which are generated among the learner, that will lead to have a different perspective. So different perspectives will get analyzed when we attach the A element or art element into STEM education. The art children, the art teach children that in complex form of problems, solving purpose are seldom fixed, but change with the circumstances and opportunities. Same problem may have different way of solution when the context changes, when the circumstances changes. So today, this particular problem might be the solution might be applicable today for this particular problem, but when the context had changed for the same problem, there can be other solution. For the same problem, there can be other opportunities. So that kind of thinking is developed when we integrate the art element into education. So basically, multiple perspective, multiple ways of looking at the things, multiple ways of thinking from the other way, that all things gets developed when we talk about integration of art into STEM education. The art make vivid fact that neither the words in their form nor the numbers exhaust what we know. Many times, because of the lack of vocabulary, because of the shortage of knowledge about the language, many times we can't express. So can that art be expressed in different forms? And that is possible when we integrate that art element into education. Say, for example, the child may not have the adequate vocabulary. So at that particular time, the child can express by way of drawing. The child can express by way of having a flow chart, concept maps. So all these things get developed when we integrate the art element into education. So many times the words will be short or the numbers will be short to express ourselves. And that expression is possible after integrating arts element into it. And that art can be of different form. It can be fine art, liberal art, it can be dance, it can be poetry, it can be drama, role play. These are the different ways through which child can express. He might not be having the language competency, but these are the different ways through which the child can explain what he or she has understood. And this is how the integration of arts will change the whole scenario. And this is how the child will also feel comfortable. Whatever he knows, at least he can, present, at least he can show what he has understood by way of performing it, by way of drawing, by way of drama, poetry, etc. Of course, we will be seeing in my later part of my presentation, I'll be talking about how you can have a lesson plan wherein you can integrate art into science lesson. The art teach the children that small differences can have a larger effect. So it will not be like 1 to 1 is 2, but a small difference in that one small element, how it can affect the whole system, how it can have a larger effect on it. So while taking any decisions or while applying any action, we need to foresee how this particular small step taken by me or how this small action has led to a drastic change in the whole process. So that understanding also get develops when we talk about integration of art into the STEM. The art teach the children to think through and within the material. So there is something like hidden curriculum. Many times what the author want to say, if we go superficially, we don't understand what the author wants to convey, or what is the deep meaning which is hidden in the text. So that is possible when the child learns through it by way of art. So art helps the child to go think through and within the material. So think through the material, try to understand the different relation between context, and also to think beyond the material. How it can other situation, how this particular thing will work out in this particular different context. So all those kind of understanding get developed, and this is how the thinking will be through and within the material gets developed when we integrate the art element. The art helps children to learn, say, what cannot be said. Many times, what to say, many times, child hesitate to speak up in front of the teacher in the class. So what to say, how to say, that kind of, thinking before speaking inhibits the child to express, and that expression is possible by way of integrating art. So if the child is hesitant to share something, and if the teacher asks the child to express what he want to say, so that way of expression can be done by way of integrating art. So this is how it enables the child to say what he cannot say, because many times scared or make it fear for making use of that particular words, or my teacher make it offensive. So that can be very well expressed when we make use of art. The art enables to have experience one can have from no other sources. So that particular art can be used to have an experience which cannot be expressed without any other form. So what we cannot express by way of writing, by way of speaking, can be expressed by way of integrating. There's a young have a different subject again, and again that different subjects is generally taught in a free period, or lesser importance is given to that particular subject. Whenever we used to have our school education, how the art has a very less importance, or how the art was one of the neglected subject at that time. But it should not be the neglected. It is one of the way through which you can actually help the child to grow, to express, to bloom, and that is possible by way of integrating art into science education. So there is no need to segregate science fields, arts fields, commerce field. Let the knowledge be whole, let the knowledge be together, and that holistic understanding comes when we have that STEAM approach, wherein we include the different disciplines. Interdisciplinary approach is used, wherein the integration, collaboration, correlation between different disciplines is possible by way of introducing art. So how one can use the art in the curriculum? We will obviously seeing some different lesson plans wherein I'll be talking about, as I have already given some examples, wherein you can allow the child to express by way of drama, by way of poetry, by way of other forms of expression the child can express. Students learn best when they are encouraged to generate their own questions, own learning process. And these things are, I'm very sorry to say, but these things are lacking in our present education system, wherein they hardly have a chance to ask the question. It is the teacher who will always ask the question. Child doesn't have any right to ask the question. And if the child asks the question, teacher feels offended and teacher says, don't ask the question, right? So this is a kind of culture, and that needs to be changed, and that is possible by way of integrating art element. Engage in relevant investigation. Let them go out, let them conduct the project, let them investigate, let them observe, watch, let them collect the information, and let them reflect on their learning process. Do we ever take an effort by asking a child what he has learned, how he has learned? So that reflective thinking also is very important, and that they themselves get confidence among themselves. They themselves get knowledge about their own learning, and they themselves feel confident. Yes, this much I know. This is how I learned, and this is my stage of learning, where I'm lacking, or am I too much ahead? Am I too much behind? This all will be possible by way of making the child to reflect. And that reflection can be with the small questions like, what did you learn today? How did you learn today? With whom you like to learn? What do you learn from your friend? These kind of small questions will help the child to reflect on his or her own learning. And this is how teacher can also judge or evaluate if there is any misconception, if there is any misunderstanding about the concept, that can be evaluated. So this is how we can integrate the art element, and we can provide the child with the development of critical thinking and reflective thinking. Enduring ideas, let the child come up with their own ideas, and let the ideas may be based on his values, his beliefs, his aspirations. So those particular ideas needs to be provided, needs to be nurtured when it comes to the sharing of ideas. The arts are a rich resource of objects that invite interpretation of the world in ways that other subject areas do not do. Because science generally teaches us 1 + 1 2, or just this. If you mix these two chemicals, this is the result you will be getting. But it is exactly opposite when we integrate that. It can be different way, it can be different form, and that kind of understanding is very important, and that is possible when we integrate the A element into STEM education. So what is the difference? When we talk about the STEM and the STEAM, what is the difference? The main difference between STEM and STEAM is that STEM symbolizes a modern approach to science, focusing on problem solving, critical thinking, and analytical thinking. Whereas STEAM explore the same object, but in a different creative thinking and applied arts. So when we talk about the difference between the STEM and the STEM goes more with the problem solving skills, analytical thinking skills, critical thinking skills, or logical thinking. These are the skills which get developed when we impart the knowledge from the subject like physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics. These are the subject known for developing those particular skills. But when we talk about STEAM, it is a creative thinking, it is a applied arts in terms of different forms of arts, in terms of different ways of expression, in terms of different perspectives to look towards the thing that can develop. And that is very much important when we have to look upon the all-round development of a child. By adding the element of art, STEM-based thinking, education believes that student can use both the brain, as I was talking about. We generally give a chance to develop only the left brain, wherein more emphasis is given on development of the skills like problem solving, critical thinking, analytical thinking. But hardly efforts are taken by the curriculum or by way of the subjects are taught, wherein the child get a chance to make use of his right brain. So what are the different capacities gets developed when we talk about right brain? It is a creativity, it is the imagination, it is a feeling, because you just can't imagine you are learning without the involvement of feelings. And when you bring the feeling element in learning, then learning becomes an enjoyable activity. School, but you will rather wait for when I go to the school and where I can express myself, what way I can show my talent and what I know, let me share with my teacher. All these kind of things will happen when we talk about the STEAM approach. And definitely, if we provide such kind of opportunities and environment, definitely it will help the child to develop his right brain. Because science and arts goes hand in hand, and they both together leads toward progress and development. That is why it is very important. So what is the future of STEAM? As I was talking about when I was telling the why STEM education or STEM education, as there is a need, there is a demand, and how the situation is going to change in future, and where the people who have that STEM or STEM education will be in demand, considering the kind of changes happening around us, considering the importance of technology, considering the importance of science. All these fields will be much in demand in future. And for that, to meet that particular workforce, there is a need for STEAM education. As I was talking about, the Bureau of Labor Statistics announced that people employed in careers related to STEM was expected to increase more in the coming years. The STEAM jobs are projected to grow 13%. So STEAM education. So when we combine science, math, technology, art, and engineering together, the learning will be fantastic. The learning will be enjoyable. The learning will be based on real life experiences. So why make them very dull and confined? Disconnected. Let us make it connected. Let us bring them together so that learning will be an enjoyable activity. Learning will be a collaborative activity. Learning will be the fun activity. And let child will like to come, and child will always enjoy having such kind of environment or such kind of conducive environment wherein he is getting just like this. So let us not disconnect, because the whole learning as a connected one and not as in a compartment. So let us not make it disconnected. Let us combine together. Let us enjoy. Let us gain the joy of learning by way of integration of the subjects. So what is the benefit of STEAM? The adoption of STEAMs in classroom will be helpful. Curiosity will be generated because when we talk about the STEM education or STEM education, the methods like problem solving, inquiry training, that itself creates a curiosity. And when the child is curious to know the things, then the learning will be more effective and learning will be more enjoyable. It will also help in application of interdisciplinary approach and project-based learning. It will provide scope for performing arts and communication. Student can use their artistic talent to generate innovations, and it will definitely promote collaboration across the discipline. So discipline will not be seen separate or isolated, but rather how each discipline is collaborated and how each discipline is interconnected. That particular understanding or that knowledge can be given by imparting STEAM education or STEM education. For science and arts to be engaged with by all in community, like we can integrate science with the dance, poetry, art form, which will break the barriers as I was talking about, because these certain fields like science, engineering, technology, and maths, these are the male-dominated field. So by introducing this STEAM approach, we can to some extent remove this barrier, gender stereotyping. It will promote the use of language, religious and ethnic background. So it will not be limited to particular class, but let everybody get a chance to have this kind of education, wherein they will also get a chance to express, to develop, to be curious, to be inquisitive, to be a problem solver, and this is possible by way of introducing this STEAM approach. And importantly, move beyond facts. Let us bring the child beyond the textbook, beyond the four walls of the classroom, and let us bring the child into real life situation, and that is possible by way of STEAM approach. Now we will move to the lesson plan. Let me have a look how much time we have. Yeah, I'm getting late. So I'll just go ahead with one example. So while teaching the topic on exploring electricity, you can have the lesson like this, where skills like critical thinking, creativity, problem solving, process-based inquiry, these will be the part and parcel of your lesson, where you have a lesson based on STEAM approach. So for that pre-assessment, student will be introduced to the basics of atoms and protons and neutrons. So at the beginning, you will first try to understand what knowledge the child has about the protons and neutrons. Students then had a theoretical knowledge through a discussion and direct instruction. So you may begin your lesson by way of explaining them what is protons, what is neutrons, and this is how you can provide a direct knowledge. And after that, so this will be your pre-assessment, wherein they will be getting the knowledge about the protons and neutrons. Then later, you can engage the child by way of asking them to reenact their movement through objects with drama. So you can tell the child to perform the drama, wherein they will be showing the positions of protons and neutrons. Following this, in pairs, student create a circular copper wire, light bulbs, and a battle and demonstrate their understanding of the concept. So this particular concept can be taught by way of converting into a classroom teaching to a drama, wherein every child will be given elements of your lesson. And how we can do the assessment for that? We can conduct a reflective discussion, wherein we can check their knowledge about the topic, how they can apply, and relevance of this particular concept, how they have understood, how it is relevant, how they can apply this particular concept in their day-to-day life. This is how we can go for the assessment. Use of technology to design and print your circuit board and explain their design. So we can also ask them to make use of technology and design a circuit board, and let them come up with their own circuit boards and let them demonstrate how they have connected the things and how they have prepared a circuit board. So this is how you can incorporate the art element in your class. Using arts, poetry in science classroom. So some student may come up with the way of expression by way of writing a poetry. Say like this kind of poetry we can have even for the subject like chemistry. So for the topic chemical reaction, this is one of the poetry. So this way also we can ask the child to come up with his own poetry or own poem, wherein he can talk about the concept. And there are a number of lesson plans available on internet, wherein you can find out how you can, incorporate STEAM element into your science teaching. This is also another example on covalent bonding. The topic is covalent bonding, and for that you can have some kind of poem like this. And again, there are different ways of incorporating art element into science. It all depends on the imagination, creativity, your learner's level of understanding. Those things can be tested, and based on that, many times you can also get the ideas from the learners, how they want to express or how they want to perform. So this is how, in different ways, you can make the learner to bring the art element in the class, and this is how the learning will be a more enjoyable and fruitful activity. And this exercise, where you are asking the learner to come up with a poem or with a poetry, it hones the critical skills. It gives for the imagination, use of metaphor, analogy, observations, attentiveness, and clear communication. All these things will also get developed by way of expression, wherein the child will come up with the art form in the form of a drama, or in the form of a skit, or in the form of a drawing, or in the form of a poetry. And this will help you to check his understanding, how he has understood, how he is showing the relationship by way of expression. All these things can be tested. So like this, you can have the poetry for the subject like geography, history, science, maths. And this is how you can bring the human element, and you can make the learning more personalized by way of introducing this STEAM approach. And if you teach this way, this learning which will take place by this particular process, it will be long lasting, and it will retain information for a longer time, and child will hardly forget what he or she has learned. So these are some of the consequences, or these are some of the positive effects which can be seen by way of integrating art element into education. So that's it. So if you have any questions, now the session is open for questions, and I'm done with my presentation. So if you want to ask anything, the session is open for questions. I hope I made it clear how one can integrate the art element into education, and how one can integrate subject like arts into the science specific fields. So that's it.
Unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yeah, please.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, in the course of this pandemic, how will students from remote areas adapt to this approach as they do not have internet access?
Yeah, very good question. Many times what happens, we always, our understanding of technology is, internet or ICT. But technology is not limited to ICT. Technology can be anything. With whatever resources available in that area, you can make use of that resources, and you can help the child to, bring that art element into education. So integration of art element always does not require the technology. And let us first wipe out our understanding of technology equals to ICT. Technology is beyond ICT, right? So that when I say technology is beyond ICT, when the child is making use of the different resources available in his community, and when the child is creating something out of it, that creation itself is a technology. There he is applying his knowledge of engineering. There he is applying his knowledge of science, and that all together is an invention. So this is how we can integrate this element. It is no more limited with ICT. It is beyond ICT, and it is something more than that when we say technology. So I do understand, and I just trust me, believe me, when you have such kind of experiences, the learning is like enjoyable. Have you ever, there is one place in Mumbai, it's in Dahanu, it's a Gram Mangal Institute. So there, they make use of the available resources of the community, and they come up with their different art forms. And that when we used to feel so ashamed, we, in spite of having all the technology, what we are doing here, look at them, what kind of different technologies they have introduced. They really prepared, what is available resources to them that has been used, and that has been prepared, made use for preparing different products. So this is how we can make the teaching learning process enjoyable. And this is how we can integrate technology. So let us first try to understand technology is not equal to ICT. It is beyond ICT. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
So we have come to the end of this interesting session by Dr. Chavhan. We thank you for giving such an interesting talk. Thank you very much. An event should not end without formal gratitude to the people who are involved. And I request Mrs. Elair to give vote of thanks.
Thank you, Chavhan. On behalf of the faculty and students of Isabella Open College, I would like to thank you very much, Dr. Chavhan, for taking time off from your busy schedule and presenting this very informative and enlightening lecture. I'm sure our BEd students have greatly benefited by it. And I would like to add here that we look forward to many more such interactions with you. Thank you once again. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So as we have come to the end of the show, I would like to share that the next lecture in this series would be on 20th of October 2020 at 12 noon. So see you again. Till then, have a pleasant time ahead.
Thank you.